The trade deadline is off to a very weird start. Really, Michael McCarron to the Wylde from the Predators for a second-round pick? Michael McCarron? Really? In 2026? Michael McCarron? Billy, what are you up to? I was told this is a buyer's market. Well, apparently not. Now, why did this happen? Actually, before you go saying this is a crazy trade, there's a lot more underneath the surface than you would probably think at first. And I have a theory, and I'm going to get to it at the end, that the Calgary Flames might be the biggest beneficiary of this trade. I know it's weird, right? I'll explain. But first, let's talk about the Minnesota Wild. Bill Guerin is having himself a year. It's pretty hard to question him at this point. And listen, let's play the tape back for the Big Bill events. I'm going to start calling him Big Balls Bill, honestly. This guy's, he's laid it on the line, okay? So, first off, December 13th, 2025. If you're a Wild fan, this is a day that you have circled on your calendar forever. The Minnesota Wild trades Zeev Buium, Marco Rossi, Liam Ogren to the Vancouver Canucks for Quinn, probably winning the Norris Hughes. That's pretty sick. Then, December 31st, just a couple of weeks later, Team USA's announcing, we have scandal because Jason Robertson and Cole Caulfield and Lane Hudson, whose dad called Bill Guerin Bill Guerin before the season started because he didn't even invite him to USA camp. They're all left off the roster. Now, we know Caulfield and Hudson were likely to be left off the roster, but Jason Robertson? You mean guy who's about to score 40 goals? And he's in the division? And you're leaving him off? Well, I mean, that seems like a really bad idea. And let me tell you something. I was doing all the streams for the Team USA games, and for those first couple of games, American fans were really down on that team. And they didn't start out that hot. But I'm sure that you probably remember February 22nd, 2026, where 46 years after the Miracle on Ice, to the day, Team USA won its first gold medal since 1980, and boo and hiss, and I'm salty about it, but that was Bill Guerin's team. He was the general manager. So like I said, it's kind of hard to question him. And here's the thing. We got trade deadline in a couple of days, and what does Bill need? Bill needs centers. And even though we keep hearing about Vinny Trocheck when it comes to the Wild, that deal hasn't happened yet, and we can come back to that. But for now, what are the Wild getting in Michael McCarron? We'll get back to the second-round pick in a second. Well, if you like beef, Michael McCarron provides a ton of beef, okay? 6'6", 232 pounds, and his career high in points is 22. So he doesn't score, but he does do other things. Big thanks to Mike Kelly from the NHL Network for pulling these numbers, because Michael McCarron, does things that useful guys who don't score do. First off, he wins faceoffs. Currently, he's fourth in the league in defensive zone faceoffs won this year. That's kind of important for a bottom six role. He also kills penalties. He's eighth in short-handed time on ice this year. And the Preds, they've had some good, they've had some bad. They're still in the playoff race, but they've got the 13th best penalty kill in the league. That's not bad. He's also seventh in the NHL in block shots. That's crazy. And these two stats, which I'm not totally sure are scientific, 27th in stick checks and 47th in puck battles won. Again, not sure how scientific those are. They might be a little more subjective, but he blocks shots. He's gigantic. And he is what? He's a pain in the ass to play against. That's the key. Now, why is pain in the ass as like a brand important to the Wild? They already have Eriksson Ek, pain in the ass. Ryan Hartman, insane. Like, have you watched Ryan Hartman play? Insane. Literally a crazy person. Pain in the ass to play against. But when you get further down the lineup, you start to see some holes. Okay, so first off, Nico Sturm currently winning 54% of his faceoffs. That's great. He's the fourth line center sometimes. Most of the time, great. That's what you could ask for, and awesome. Danila Yurov, 38.6%. Now, he's a first-year guy, and you're thinking, okay, well, maybe he is not a guy that we want winning defensive zone faceoffs for us, or at least attempting to. That is why Michael McCarron makes a lot of sense. And listen, Michael McCarron doesn't play center all the time, as Nashville Predators fans will know. But when he does, he's pretty effective, at least in the faceoff dot. Now, That allows the Wylde to get a little bit creative with their lineup. Does Sturm move up the lineup a little bit? Not really sure, but it would be nice to move Urhoff over to the wing where maybe he can focus a little more on scoring, at least for this season until his center icemanship gets better at the NHL level. Or, and I think this is the more likely part, the Minnesota Wylde go out and they get another top six center. Remember, Vinny Trocheck, that's the name, right? You can then move Hartman down the lineup to the third line. And let's be honest, he's not great at faceoffs either, but it allows Michael McCarron and Nico Sturm to take alternate faceoffs because Michael McCarron shoots right, Nico Sturm shoots left. So you can see how their handedness might play a role in defensive zone faceoffs, especially in key situations when you're going up against the crazy teams that the Minnesota Wylde are going to have to go up against. Again, more on that in a second. Now let's get back to the point about McCarron being a pain in the ass because I think this is really important. He's going to a Wylde team that could use a little more pain in the ass. You have Sturm, who's not really. Hartman, who definitely is. Eriksson Ek, I already mentioned him. Hinostroza, good motor. Fabry, they just claimed on waivers. Hopefully he can be that for them. These are the guys that you're hoping will wear people down over a 7-game series. And need I remind you that they play in the toughest division in the sport by a mile. Like it's not even close. If the playoffs started today, the Minnesota Wylde, who are currently 5th place in the entire NHL, would be playing the Dallas Stars, and they would not have home ice advantage. Again, this is the 5th place team in the NHL, and they're not first, they're not second, they are 3rd in their division. That's crazy. Now, going off those playoffs starting today, they would be playing Dallas, again, not with home ice advantage. And let's say they get through the Dallas Stars, who were absolute monsters last year in the first round against the Colorado Avalanche. Now, let's say the Minnesota Wylde do the thing. They get through the Dallas Stars. It's a hard-fought series, and they get to round 2. Who's their opponent? Well, very likely the best regular season team this year at the time of this recording. That'd be the very angry, very pissed off, very hungry Nathan MacKinnon and the Colorado Avalanche. Do you guys remember Nathan MacKinnon's press conference after they lost in Game 7 last year to the Dallas Stars? Do you remember how angry he was? Do you know that, and let me remind you, February 22nd, 2026, a day that lives in infamy, Nathan MacKinnon had a wide open net on Connor Hellebuck for Team Canada, and he missed. He missed the net. He could have won gold medal for Team Canada, and he missed. You think Nathan MacKinnon's not thinking about that? You think Cale Makar, who also could have scored, and Devon Toews, who also could have scored in that game, all of those guys, you think they're not thinking about that? You think they don't want a Stanley Cup to make up for it? Listen, the Wylde are going through a murderer's row in the first 2 rounds, and that kind of makes the second round pick make sense. And let's also be honest here. Bill Guerin was the guy they lost to. They lost to Bill Guerin. You think they don't want revenge? Oh, I think they want revenge. Big time. They're going to be out for blood. Let me drive the point home even harder. The Central is so insane this year that the Wylde, if they were in any other division, would be A, chewing them up. B, let's just go through it. Pacific Division, they would literally be 10 points up on the next closest team. That's crazy. If they were in the Atlantic, they would be tied with the Lightning for first, which, listen, let's be honest, the Atlantic hasn't been fun this year, but the Minnesota Wylde would be easily at the top of it. And just one more for fun. They would be 1 win away from catching the Carolina Hurricanes in the Metro, again, at the time of this trade and recording. None of these divisions features teams as good or scary as Colorado or Dallas. How are you going to get through those series with Colorado and Dallas? You've got otherworldly skill. We know, all right? Kaprizov, Boldy, Faber, the goaltending, Quinn Hughes. It's crazy. But you also need to make them hate playing you. When those guys are off the ice, you need guys like McCarron who are big and scary. His presence is just big and scary. And you need a bottom 6 that can wear them down. Just be a total pain in the ass every single time. But you could still ask me, Adam, okay, I got you on all those points, but it's Michael McCarron. There is no way, no matter how many times you try to go with this, that you can convince me Michael McCarron is worth a second-round pick. And I think that's fair in a vacuum. But the stakes are high enough in this division that McCarron might well be worth a second round pick, because the winner of this division, whoever comes out of this division, is very likely going to the Stanley Cup Finals, unless they're dead, right? These teams are that good. And Bill Guerin wants a Stanley Cup and a gold medal in the same year. He's going for broke. Now, he still's got work to do. They got to get that top six center, because Dallas is stacked and Colorado might just be adding a big name. Again, I will come back to that. And we've seen what happens time and time and time again when good teams go to the playoffs and they can't win faceoffs, or somebody gets hurt and then they're thin at center. You've seen it. I've seen it. We know it can tank an entire season. It can tank the most talented teams. Now, this entire video has been about the Minnesota Wylde and Bill Guerin and this risk that they've taken. If you're a Preds fan, you probably feel a little shortchanged at this point, and I get it, but I think the best part about this trade for you, if you're a Preds fan, is that it's so uncomplicated. The Preds for years have been complicated and weird, and things aren't working out, and none of it makes sense, and what's Barry Trotz doing? And all of a sudden you get a clean trade like this, and it's a second round pick for a fourth liner. That feels good. That feels like hell yeah, right? We like that. And, I'm a fan of the Leafs. If we could get a second rounder for any of our fourth liners, I will tell you, there'd be backflips on the street outside of this studio. The Trotz era is coming to an end. And it's not been a great era in terms of Barry Trotz as a general manager. I think we can all admit that. The best thing Barry Trotz can do at the end of his era running the Nashville Predators is stock them up with some great picks that they can use to draft. Or the other thing they could do, this is great, is they could use them and parlay them into more trades either at the deadline this year or at the draft or next year. Like this is something that could be really great. And here's the thing, Nashville's not even out of it. Like they could still make the playoffs. It's a bit of a weird wild card situation in the Western Conference because there's these 3-4 amazing teams at the top. And then a bunch of people who are like, I don't know. I guess, do you want to go to the playoffs? I'm not really sure if I do. The Preds are one of those teams. They could sell and make the playoffs. I think that would be the best case scenario for Barry Trotz to go out on. That would be leaving it on a high. Now, I did kind of mention off the top of the video how Calgary could be a huge beneficiary of this trade. And I know it seems like a minor trade and I might be making something out of nothing. And maybe I am. But the way I see it is this. Bill Guerin has said, we need centers and I'm willing to pay big for them. And I'm going up against Colorado eventually, probably. I'm going up against Dallas eventually, probably. I'm willing to pay to make sure this team goes through. Your move, Joe Sakic. And you guys know that the Colorado management group, Chris McFarland et al., were all at the Calgary Flames game the other day in Anaheim. Who were they scouting? The guy they won the cup with, Nazem Kadri. Now, if I'm the Calgary Flames, and I've just seen that Michael McCarron went for a second-round pick, oh, you want me to retain on Nazem Kadri? I don't think so. Oh, you want to give me anything less than a bazillion first-round picks for Nazem Kadri? He's under contract next year. We could just keep him and trade him then. Yeah, I guess maybe we're taking the risk that his game falls off a cliff, but Naz is a dog. Not bloody likely. The Calgary Flames could win big. And it won't be the Wylde that pay them big. It might be the Avs. The Wylde, it would be kind of funny. But think about it like that. The stakes are very high in this division. Very, very high. Nazem Kadri could cost the Avs a fortune. And this could be part of the reason why. Listen, if I'm Craig Conroy, I'm waiting for McFarland to call me, and I'm going, give me everything you have. Everything. And then I'll consider it. Thank you, sir. Now you may kiss my hand. Bill Guerin one more time. He took some big risks with the USA roster. And if they hadn't won, he would have taken a lot of heat. Very likely, if they hadn't won, we'd all be talking about Jason Robertson, and we'd all be talking about how it's time for him to step down. Nobody's saying that. He won. They won. There's nothing to question. Now, there is risk in this trade. If you remember last year, because there's some precedents here, Bill Guerin traded a second rounder for Gus Nyquist, who in the playoffs in 6 games before the Wylde were eliminated, got 0 goals, 0 assists, and 0 points. You would say he might have been a non-factor. And that was what a second-round pick got him. That kind of sucks, right? And by the way, Gus Nyquist hasn't scored a goal in the NHL this year either. This is a player who was traded for a second-round pick, hasn't scored at all this year. People are going, well, I don't know about Bill Guerin and his pro scouting staff, and I'm not really sure. And I get that. You could question it. But if Minnesota does come through this second-round pick, who cares? Who cares? Fair value? Wipe your butt with it. I've got a Stanley Cup. Or at very least a conference finals or finals appearance, which they have to go for. I kind of respect why he did this trade. Is it a lot? Sure. But this division is unlike any we've seen in a long, long time. And Bill Guerin, who just signed Kaprizov to that big contract and has got a bunch of work ahead this summer, I think he's got to go for it. And I think he's signaling, I'm going for it. I have a feeling that this is not the last Minnesota Wylde video we'll be doing before the trade deadline. So, Big Bill, laying it on the line. Here's what I want to know in the comments. What do you think? Do you understand where I'm coming from? If you're a Flames fan, are you just like licking your chops? Wylde fans, got to know what you think. Preds fans, I got to feel your relief. I might have to live through you because I don't know how much the Leafs are going to do. Leave it in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, guys. And remember, SDPN's trade deadline coverage is obviously whenever there's a trade, but of course on Friday, we've got not only videos coming out all day, but a live stream at 5 o'clock recapping the entire day with me and Steve and Jesse. Looking forward to it. See you there.
Hey, did you like the thing you just watched?
Was it hilarious?
Was it informative?
Was it me losing my mind?
Possibly. Potentially. Most of the time it is. Hey, listen, if you like what SDPN has to offer, you should check out more of our videos and subscribe to our channel by clicking subscribe, or Steve will find you.